Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. I always knew the world was gonna end in a meeting. Some goddamn windowless room, lukewarm coffee, folding chairs that squeak if you breathe too hard, and a projector that hums louder than the guy running it. That's how it starts. Not with bombs, not with news reports, with PowerPoint. And sure enough, at 1742 on a Thursday, that's where I was, trying not to nod off while Captain Feldman read slides like they'd be on the final exam. Reyes was 2 seats down, doodling something vulgar on a notepad. Tran, as usual, was half listening and half scanning the exits like someone was gonna charge in guns hot. Beans was already asleep, head tilted back, mouth open like a drain. I didn't blame him. We'd pulled back-to-back drills all week and then got roped into this last-minute logistics review because someone lost a shipment manifest. The whole base was like that lately. Cut corners, overlapping schedules, too many greenhorns and not enough answers. Felt like we were prepping for something nobody wanted to say out loud. And in the event of multi-branch contractor conflicts, your chain of command report will still route through JFAC logistics regardless of communication breakdowns between... I checked my watch. 17:43. The projector flickered. Feldman tapped the laptop. Nothing. The lights overhead buzzed, blinked once, then dimmed into emergency red. That got everyone sitting up. Backup grid, Feldman muttered, squinting. Probably just another load shed. Second time this week. That's when the door opened. Not kicked in, not rushed, just opened. Corporal Thompson stood there, pale, soaked in sweat. Uniform askew, like he'd dressed in a sprint. "Sir," he said to no one and everyone at once, "I think something's wrong in Echo Sector." We didn't move fast at first. That's how you can tell we weren't scared yet. Officers started murmuring, half of them already pulling out their phones like Thompson had just said there was a gas leak or a prank in progress. I stood. Define wrong. Thompson blinked. His voice cracked. We lost comms from Control Tower 2, and the security feed for the motor pool went dark. I tried to call it in. There's no response on base net, not just the tower, like the whole east side. "Systems failure?" Feldman asked. "No, sir. We still have grid ping from barracks, admin, and mess, but Echo's cold. Everything past the east fence went offline in under 90 seconds. He swallowed. And there was a body outside comms. Looked like Private Harris, face down. I didn't check for pulse. I ran. No one laughed. Feldman turned gray. "All right, Sergeant Rooker," he said finally. "You're on rapid response for this quarter. Take a team. Assess Echo standard recon. No dramatics." "Yes, sir." I didn't wait for dismissal. I found the others still half-geared. Reyes looked up from repacking his med kit. "We getting out of this lecture early?" he asked. "Field trip," I said. "Echo Sector. Power's out. Comms are dark. Might be nothing." "You don't sound convinced." "I'm not. Beans pulled a crumpled protein bar out of his cargo pocket. I just sat down, man. Tran said nothing, already strapping his armor tighter. Yusuf, I said, spotting her by the racks. You're up. She was new, transfer from Pendleton 2 weeks ago. Quiet, always early to muster, always last to speak. She nodded once, clipped her rifle to her chest, and fell in. By the time we rolled out, it was pushing 18:15, still daylight, but the sun was bleeding into that golden hour haze where shadows stretch long and nothing feels quite real. We took a Humvee down the east corridor, past admin and the old storage depots. Base looked normal, mostly. 1 or 2 service techs were out walking toward the comms tower, but they didn't wave, didn't even look at us, just kept walking. Reyes leaned forward from the back seat. Hey, Sarge, you seeing that? Yeah. They were moving too slow, not limping, not panicked, just off. One of them stumbled into a bench and kept going like it wasn't there. I don't like this, Reyes muttered. You're not supposed to, I said, but I didn't like it either. We stopped 2 blocks short of Echo. Something about the quiet didn't sit right. Tran agreed. He pointed to the rooftops. No spotters. Normally, you'd see 1 or 2 guards making rounds. Not today. I killed the engine. On foot from here. Beans sighed like a dying horse. You're welcome to stay with the truck, I said. He got out. We moved standard V formation. Tran took point. I took rear. Reyes stayed center with Yusuf. Beans flanked right with his SAW. The air smelled like burning plastic and fertilizer. Could have been training runoff. Could have been something worse. Echo looked half abandoned. Doors open, barracks lights off, no music, no trash pickup, no one shouting across the yard about chow or assignments. You don't realize how much noise a base makes until all of it's gone. We didn't find a body. Not yet. But we did find blood. It was streaked across the pavement by the motor pool. Not fresh, not dry. Just thick and brownish red, like it had started to clot before someone dragged it. Long streaks, boot prints through it, headed nowhere. Yusuf crouched and touched the smear. Gloved fingers. Professional. Still warm, she said. Her voice was steady. Someone bled out here, not long ago. Beans shifted his weight. Maybe a fight. Where's the other guy? Reyes asked. No one answered. We swept through the nearest barracks. Empty beds, lights off. Wall clock stopped at 17:58. We cleared each room by the book. Call-outs, corners, windows. The only thing off was the smell. Reyes said it first. That sour, sweet thing. You smell it? Yeah, I said. I'd smelled it before. In country. Places where the bodies had been out too long in the heat. Not exactly rot, not exactly blood. Something in between. We moved slower after that. At 1900, I called it. Pull back, regroup at the Humvee. No contact, Tran asked. No one living, I said, and that was the problem. As we turned to head back, we heard something. A clang, metal on metal, echoed through the yard like a dropped pipe in an empty hangar. Then another. We froze. Yusuf looked at me. Sir? I heard it. We crouched behind a low wall, weapons ready. Tran took overwatch position on the corner, sighted down the scope. He didn't say a word for 10 seconds. Then, one movement. East building. Slow. Lurching. Can't confirm if armed. Distance 40 meters, coming toward us. Engage if hostile. We waited. The figure stepped into view. It was a man, probably, in uniform but slumped, dragging one foot like it didn't work right. His head tilted at a strange angle, like it had been broken and never reset. He didn't react to us, didn't look up, didn't do anything until he hit the pool of blood. Then he dropped to his knees and started pawing at it, smearing it across his face like a dog in garbage. No one moved. Reyes whispered, "The fuck?" That's when the man's head snapped toward us, fast, too fast, and he screamed, "I'll stop there, because that's where everything changed, where the briefing ended, where the world stopped making sense." 12 hours of hell followed that moment, but if you ask me when it truly began, it wasn't when the screaming started. It was the silence right before. The scream didn't sound human. It was wet and raw, like the sound chords make when they snap under tension. It echoed off the empty buildings around us, bounced between the barracks and the motor pool, like it didn't know where to land. The man in uniform, if you could still call him that, jerked forward, not ran, not charged, jerked, like something was pulling him by the spine. "Contact front," Tran called, already lining up his shot. "Hold fire," I snapped. I don't know why I said it. Instinct, maybe. We weren't at war, not officially. That was still a soldier wearing U.S. camo, still breathing. But when it got 10 steps closer, I changed my mind. Engage. A shot rang out. Tran's shot was clean, center mass right between the pouches. The thing staggered, took a knee. Then it stood back up. Reyes whispered, "No fucking way." Tran fired again. Same result. "Headshot," I said. This time Tran adjusted. Took half a second longer. Boom. The thing dropped like its strings got cut. Silence. We didn't move. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. That part of me never forgets training. The part that counts breathing cycles and calculates angles even when your gut is screaming run. Yusuf looked at me. "Orders. Advance. Keep spacing." We swept toward the body. I kept my rifle trained on its skull the whole time. It didn't twitch, didn't breathe. The blood beneath it was dark, sticky, and already congealing. Beans said what we were all thinking. That wasn't a person. I crouched, took a closer look. The skin around its mouth was torn, like it had bitten something too hard. Teeth cracked, gums bleeding. Its left hand had fingernails snapped clean off. Raw meat underneath. But no gear damage, no bullet wounds except ours. "Sir," Yusuf asked, "you want a tag and bag?" "No, we don't have the kit. Mark it and move." She nodded and pulled a glow stick from her vest, snapping it before dropping it next to the body. I keyed up the radio. Base, this is Sergeant Rooker, Alpha 2-1. We've got a downed, unknown hostile. Immediate response requested. Situation escalating. Nothing. Repeat, hostile engaged. 0 comms from Echo Sector. We need overwatch or evac now. Still nothing. Static. We pulled back to the Humvee. Tran took rear. Reyes kept checking his sat phone, cycling through frequencies like he was trying to tune into a ghost. No uplink, no tower. GPS is stuck. Grid? Dead. Beans loaded a mag into his saw and slammed the hatch shut. We're cut off, he said. No one argued. We were halfway through the motor pool lot when everything fell apart. It started with a voice, screaming. No words, just pure animal panic. We all froze, scanned. I saw him first, Private Langston. Young, lean, always tapping his foot during inspections. He sprinted into view from behind a service building. His uniform was soaked in blood, not his. He looked right at me and yelled, "They're inside." Then something tackled him from behind. We watched him go down in a tangle of limbs and teeth. He didn't even scream again. Just stopped. 3 more came around the corner, uniforms in tatters, one missing half its scalp. They moved fast, jittery and clumsy, but relentless. Open fire! Everything exploded. Beans laid down a wall of 5.56. The roar of his saw shook the pavement. Reyes ducked behind the hood of the Humvee and started shouting coordinates even though no one was listening. Tran dropped 2 with tight, controlled bursts. Yusuf went full auto, her hands rock steady. I fired center mass, corrected, shifted to heads. They didn't act like anything we'd fought before. No formation, no cover. Just bodies running at us until we made them stop moving. One made it too close. It slammed into the driver's side of the Humvee. Reyes pivoted and fired 6 rounds point blank into its chest. Nothing. I stepped in and put one in its right eye. It collapsed on top of Reyes. "You good?" I asked. "Yeah," he panted, shoving it off. "Thanks for the assist. Don't mention it." We pulled back into the open garage bay, slamming the roll-down door behind us. We'd neutralized 9. 9 people, soldiers, techs, who shouldn't have been able to move the way they did, shouldn't have taken that much fire to drop. Yusuf was shaking, not fear, adrenaline. She'd never seen real combat, not like this. But she held it together. Beans, check the rear. Tran, watch the catwalk. Reyes, on me. We regrouped by the workbench. I tried the radio again. Still nothing. Reyes exhaled. "We're not just cut off." "No," I said. "We're being isolated." We stayed inside the garage for about 15 minutes, enough time to reload, breathe, and check each other for wounds. Reyes looked us over one by one. No bites, no scratches. "Whatever this is," he muttered, "it's fast, it's dirty, and it's spreading." He sat down and wiped his face. His hands were shaking now, too. "I've treated IED wounds that looked cleaner than that." Beans was pacing. "So, what is this? Drug outbreak? Some psycho-chem shit?" "Doesn't explain the silence," I said, "or the satellite blackout." Yusuf crouched by the door, rifle across her knees. You think it's just here? No. And I think that was the first moment I believed it. This wasn't a drill. This wasn't a rogue lab test or a failed op. This was something worse. We couldn't stay. The bodies would draw more. Noise would too. And we had no way to call for backup. So I made the call. Load what you can. We're moving out in 10. To where? Reyes asked. West End, Supply Depot. That's 5 clicks across open base. Then let's hope we're not the only ones left. We rolled out slow, lights off, quiet. The air smelled different now, like heat and iron and sweat. No one spoke. I drove. Yusuf rode shotgun, watching every building like it might open up and spit teeth at us. Beans manned the back hatch. Tran stayed quiet, scanning intersections. Reyes kept his eyes on our medevac, an injured comms officer we'd pulled from behind a generator shed during the retreat. He was unconscious, still breathing, for now. At 2100, we reached the depot, empty, but intact. No bodies, no screams, just silence. We pulled the Humvee inside, shut the gates, and started fortifying the entrances. I found a working terminal in the security booth. One unread message: to all units. Containment breach reported. Zulu class protocol in effect. All outbound comms suspended. Assume operational silence. Lock down sector access. Engage targets with lethal force. Headshots only. God help us all. I stared at it for a long time. Then I turned off the screen. All right, I said out loud. You heard the man. From now on, we aim for the head. We didn't sleep, didn't even try. Once we had the doors locked down, I posted watches. Tran took rooftop overwatch. Beans and Yusuf split hall duty. Reyes patched up our evac. Comms officer Patel, who still hadn't regained consciousness. I stayed by the front gate, running calculations in my head, ammo count, barricade height, sight lines, sound carry. It's what I do when things go quiet. The supply depot had high ground on 3 sides, with an old road checkpoint just 100 yards out. Junction 16. Narrow, tight terrain. Perfect for a bottleneck. That's when it hit me. We hold there, I told Reyes when he rotated down from watch. The checkpoint. We can stack barriers, use the slope for cover. We build a line. He didn't argue. He didn't have to. He just nodded, wiped the sweat off his neck, and said, You want me on Civ Recon? See if any survivors are holed up nearby? Not yet. First, we dig in. We spent the next hour dragging crates, sandbags, and steel pallets to the road. It felt like Iraq all over again. Hot work in cold air, the stink of oil and blood clinging to our sleeves. I had Beans drive the Humvee sideways into the junction, blocking the main lane. Tran and Yusuf started laying down barbed wire strips we found in the depot's back stock. No one needed instructions. Everyone just worked. It was the first time since this whole thing started that we felt like soldiers again. At 22:30, we saw the first movement. Tran spotted them from the roof. 1, no 3, moving toward us from the south ridge. Speed. Casual, not charging. Lights. Negative. Visual only. Can't tell if they're hostile. We waited. The three figures moved like they were walking uphill through mud. No urgency, but no hesitation either. One of them was dragging something, metal scraping asphalt. Sounded like a tire iron or a pipe. I raised my rifle. "Reyes," I said. "Sound off. Civilian contact protocol." He stepped up next to me and called out, "U.S. Armed Forces. Identify yourselves. Hands visible. Do not approach with weapons." Nothing. They just kept coming. Yusuf raised her M4. "Orders. Open fire." First volley dropped 2. Third one kept moving. Didn't even flinch. Yusuf stepped out from behind the barrier, exhaled, and placed a 3-round burst into its face. It folded. Silence returned. Then, a noise like tearing fabric came from the ridge. Then more movement. Dozens. They didn't rush us all at once. That's what got me. They came in waves, like the first few were just checking the gate. Then the second wave crested the hill, and the sound of feet on pavement became thunder. Beans got on the 50 cal we mounted to the Humvee roof. "Permission to light it up?" "Do it." He pulled the trigger. The 50 cal roared like a dragon. It chewed through the lead runners, snapped bodies in half. Reyes and Yusuf took the flanks, firing disciplined bursts. Tran called targets from the roof. I rotated between support and field command, dropping mags, giving orders, patching the holes in our wall when they started to crack. It was almost surgical. Almost. Then one of them made it through. It slid under the Humvee. How? I don't know. And grabbed Reyes by the ankle, dragged him halfway into the open. He kicked, screamed, and managed to get his pistol out, firing into its chest over and over. "Head!" I shouted. "Head!" Yusuf got it. One shot. Clean. I hauled Reyes back with both hands. His leg was bleeding, but not from a bite. Just torn skin. Still, we checked, and checked again. "No punctures," Reyes said, breathing hard. "Just friction. I'm good. I'm good." I didn't believe him until he stood. They kept coming. We held the checkpoint for 43 minutes before the last body dropped. In the end, there were maybe 30 corpses piled in the road, limbs twisted, faces shredded. They didn't carry weapons. They didn't communicate. But they learned. The last wave tried to flank us through the trees. Didn't work. Tran picked them off before they made it 20 feet. Still, it shook me. They were testing our defenses. Not smart, exactly. Not coordinated. But driven. Like whatever was inside them didn't care how many died. Just wanted to find the crack. We burned the bodies with depot fuel and road flares. The smoke rolled thick and black. The stench was in my teeth for the next 2 hours. We didn't speak much afterward, just sat against the concrete, watching the tree line, ears twitching at every crunch of gravel. Beans finally broke the silence. "Guess this makes us the front line, huh?" I looked around at the ruined checkpoint, the blown-out Humvee, the ragged survivors trying to keep their hands steady. "No," I said, "this makes us a speed bump." I sent Tran and Yusuf back to the depot to scavenge more wire and water. Reyes sat with the injured. Beans cleaned the 50 cal. I stood at the barrier and looked at the rising moon. That road stretched west all the way to the city. If this wasn't contained by morning, nothing would stop it from spilling past the base, into neighborhoods, streets, homes. I looked at my rifle, my hands. 12 hours ago, I was counting cargo manifests. Now I was counting corpses, and we weren't done. We held Junction 16 until dawn cracked the sky in half. It didn't feel like a victory. 38 infected, burned in a pile just off the shoulder. The black smoke never stopped. By hour 6, it clung to everything. Our vests, our tongues, our thoughts. We took turns on watch, rotating sleep in 30-minute shifts. I didn't bother lying down, just leaned against the Jersey barrier, boots in ash, rifle across my knees. It felt like the beginning of something, and I hated how calm that made me feel. At 6:45, Yusuf spotted movement west of the ridge. Not infected, human. We all raised weapons until we saw the signals. 2 sharp overhead waves, arms held wide. No weapons drawn. I stepped forward, hand lifted. Hold. Identify. A voice answered. Lieutenant Rains. Maine National Guard. Survivors in tow. And just like that, the silence broke. There were 7 of them. 3 National Guard, 2 civvies, a mechanic, and a young woman carrying a bolt-action hunting rifle and a backpack too big for her frame. They looked like hell, mud-caked, eyes sunken, dragging their feet, but they were upright and breathing. Lieutenant Rains introduced himself with a firm shake and a tired stare. You Rooker? I nodded. We picked up chatter, scrambled signals bouncing off base frequencies. Figured if anyone was still fighting, they'd be holding high ground. You figured right. He looked over our makeshift wall, the scorched earth beyond it, and let out a breath. Looks like you built a goddamn Alamo. We build what we need. We made room for them in the depot. Beans shared rations with the civvies, barely complained. Reyes checked them for bites. One of the civilians, a bus driver named Arlo, had a gash on his thigh, not a bite. Looked like a piece of rebar. Still, we wrapped it tight and kept him separate just in case. The girl with the rifle didn't speak much, just sat by the corner of the garage and cleaned her scope. I asked her name. She said, June. That was it. She'd seen something, maybe more than us. I didn't push. By mid-morning, the depot felt like a forward ops post. It wasn't secure, not really, but it was better than nothing. We reinforced the doors, cleared the top floor for sightlines. Rain's men set up a field radio on a folding table with 2 car batteries, but they couldn't raise anyone. Not state, not federal, not even emergency broadcast. Just static and the occasional ghost pulse of a voice saying, Zone Red, repeat. Zone Red, whatever that meant. I took stock, personnel. 12 able-bodied, 2 wounded, 3 unarmed. Ammo, 540 rounds, 5.56, 120 rounds, 7.62, 6 frags, food, 2 days max if rationed, water, better. Depot still had working filtration, 20-gallon drums mostly full. Not great, but better than where we'd started. At 10:30, Reyes pulled me aside. "It's the girl," he said. "June. She's got something." "Wound?" "No. Info." I found her sitting behind the supply racks, loading 308 rounds like it was second nature. "You military?" I asked. "No." "Law enforcement?" She shook her head. I crouched beside her. "You're not scared?" She paused. "I'm terrified," she said. "Just used to pretending I'm not." I gave her that. "Where'd you come from?" "North, farm town near Belgrade." "What happened?" She looked me dead in the eye. They were already inside. It wasn't a breach. It wasn't an outbreak. It was a delivery. I frowned. "Meaning?" A truck came. Military markings. 2 guys in hazmat suits. They said they were dropping off emergency supplies. People gathered around. Her hands stopped moving. Then the screaming started. She didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. I told Reyes, told Rains, told everyone who'd listen. This wasn't a natural spread. It was planted. So we changed the plan. Junction 16 wasn't a wall. It was a warning sign, a red flag, a last stand. We needed something better. Something built to last more than a night. Rains suggested the West Point Mall. 4 clicks out, high ground, reinforced structure, multiple floors, abandoned for years but solid construction. Glass front, concrete sides, food court storage in the back. Good lines of sight. Easy to choke off. I gave the order. We'd move before sundown. We left at 1400 sharp. 3 vehicles. 1 Humvee, 1 supply truck, 1 busted-up civilian van. Tran road lead. Yusuf and Beans rode perimeter. I stayed in the middle with the civvies and Reyes, hand on my sidearm the whole time. We didn't see any infected until we hit the overpass. That's when we found the pileup. Maybe 30 cars, all jammed together like a knot of twisted metal and desperation. Burned bodies, open doors, bullet holes in the pavement. Whatever happened here wasn't recent, but it wasn't long ago either. I gave the signal to stop. Rains pulled up next to me. "Clear a path?" "No, we go around. Could be slower." I looked at the blackened silhouette slumped against the dashboards. Better slow than dead. By 1700, we made it. West Point Mall stood on the edge of the industrial district like some kind of forgotten monument. Cracked windows, broken signs, but still intact, still standing. I led Point through the service corridor. We moved floor by floor, clearing in pairs. No infected, no squatters, just silence and old echoes. And for once, that felt like mercy. We barricaded the entrances with steel racks and pallets, set tripwires at the loading bay. Rains's team set up firing positions near the roof. Tran claimed the old food court balcony as a sniper nest. Beans took one look at the candle shop and said, "Smells like my aunt's house exploded in here." He still set up claymores behind the register. We built what we could, because this time we weren't just holding the line, we were starting one. That night I stood on the roof, and watched the city. Fire still burned. Gunshots echoed sometimes, but farther now. The roads were empty, but I knew that wouldn't last. I lit a cigarette I didn't remember pocketing. The girl, June, stood next to me. "You think this place will hold?" she asked. I exhaled. "For a while. And after? We make another wall." She nodded. No more questions. Just silence. The kind before war. It started just after midnight. No warning, no sound. Just a flicker of movement in the parking lot, caught by a glow stick we duct taped to an old shopping cart outside the barricade. Then another. Then 50. "Eyes up," Tran shouted from the balcony. "Contact front. Multiple." I was already on the move. Reyes rolled out of the storage room with his medbag half zipped. Beans jumped behind the barricade with the saw like it was a reflex. Yusuf checked the line without being told. Rains and his men manned the south corridor. It was happening. 12 hours in, hell had found us again. I climbed the stairs 2 at a time and joined Tran at his post. The lot was full. Moving shadows, dozens, maybe more, all surging forward with that twitchy, broken gait, like their bones remembered motion, but nothing else. Night vision? Tran shook his head. Not worth it. Their eyes glow. Watch for the shine. Down below, Reyes called out, "Civvies in the freezer room. No one leaves without my say-so." Beans muttered, like I was planning on retreating. I keyed my radio. "This is Rooker. All positions. Ready your sectors. Conserve ammo. Confirm headshots only." The infected reached the barricade. The first wave hit hard. The glass storefront exploded inward. Bodies crashed through metal racks and display tables. Some dropped instantly. Spikes, tripwires, clever little surprises Yusuf and Rains had planted. But others crawled over the wreckage, climbed the steel grates, threw themselves against the barriers. We opened fire, controlled, disciplined. I watched Yusuf move like she'd been born in a war zone. Short bursts, clear transitions, always scanning. Beans mowed down everything centerline, laughing like it was his therapy. Tran stayed silent, headshots like clockwork. Rains lost one of his men. Something slipped through the roof and landed on them before they could scream. We sealed that hatch with a pipe wrench and a prayer. At 1400, the second wave came. They were faster, not smart, not tactical, just angrier. I think some of them were former soldiers, still wearing body armor, still moving like they remembered drills. One had a sidearm in its vest, useless, but terrifying to see. They pushed up through the food court access ramp. We met them there, close quarters, blood, brass, bone fragments everywhere. Yusuf's rifle jammed. She switched to her sidearm mid-sprint and cleared 2 targets without blinking. Reyes took shrapnel, glass maybe, across his cheek. He didn't stop moving, just tied a strip of cloth around it and kept patching others. Beans ran dry, so he grabbed a pipe from a broken fixture and started swinging. He held that line for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a lifetime in combat. I nearly died on the 3rd breach. A crawler, small, fast, missing both legs, got behind me while I was reloading. I didn't see it until it was inches away. June saw it first. She fired from the roof, one clean shot, straight through the jaw. She didn't say anything after. Didn't have to. I owe her my life. By 3 a.m., they started thinning, or dying, or whatever it is they do when their meat finally quits. The last one crawled through the broken security gate, half its body gone, still reaching. I crushed its skull with the fire extinguisher. That was the end. We didn't cheer. We didn't collapse. We just stood there, smoking, bleeding, counting. Casualties, 2 KIA, 3 wounded. Ammo, 40% remaining. Morale, low. Functional. The civilians stayed in the storage room, whispering prayers and crying into jackets. June curled up with her rifle and didn't sleep. Tran sat on the roof and watched the horizon. Yusuf bandaged Bean's hands, torn open from swinging metal too long. Reyes finally let me check his wounds and then passed out mid-sentence. I stayed on the ground floor, rifle in my lap, ears tuned to every creak in the dark. At dawn, the city was still burning, but no more shadows moved in the street. Just wind, just smoke. Lieutenant Rains sat next to me around 0600, holding a thermos he found in the wreckage. "What now?" he asked. I looked around at the shattered mall, at the survivors patching walls with store mannequins and scrap plywood, at the smoldering pyres in the back lot. "We hold," I said. "That's not much of a plan." "It's enough." He nodded, took a sip of whatever lukewarm sludge he had. Didn't complain. I never thought I'd be the guy giving orders after the end of the world. But someone had to. 12 hours ago, I was halfway asleep in a briefing about resource transfers. Now I'm the last line between a pocket of the living and the goddamn abyss. So, yeah. We hold. That's the mission now.